in some ways, Make in India worked. In some cases, it didn't work. Efficient, productive, dynamic manufacturing is the way forward. It cannot be inefficient manufacturing. All state governments are doing kit politics now. Kit politics has become, but now it is moving from kit politics to cash politics. One thing we neglect is the best way to empower women is to giving them jobs, creating employment opportunities for women. Kerala economy has done very well in the last 30 years. Hi, I'm Arvind Subramanian. I'm a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute in Washington, D.C. I was former chief economic advisor to the government of India. Now I advise a number of state governments like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Punjab, etc. And I'm here at this wonderful Kerala Literature Festival because Devesh Kapoor, my a friend and colleague, he and I have written a book on 75 years of Indian development. It's called A Sixth of Humanity, Independent India's Development Odyssey.
How much financially independent, how much economic independent is India right now?
Well, I mean, India after 75 years, is quite independent. I mean, India gets to decide what it wants to do. We have this very thriving democracy, both at the central government, state government, and third tier. So we're a big, powerful nation with a lot of agency. But the point is that in this world, how much freedom countries have, how much independence countries have, is also going to be determined by the external environment. Just to give you one example, President Trump has imposed all these tariffs on India, for example, right? And you can see the contrast between how China responded and how we have responded. China responded by threatening the United States, so President Trump reduced its tariffs. But because we don't have as much negotiating leverage and strength as China, we had to accept these tariffs. And in that sense, our independence has been constrained by our own lack of domestic strength, as it were. So independence and things are a combination mostly of how successful and powerful you are domestically, but also by how the international environment is or other actors in the international system are behaving towards you.
So Trump's tariff is not a headache just for India.
It's a headache for all countries, but some countries have, retaliated and have kind of reduced the impact of those tariffs. We have had to accept these tariffs because we don't have enough power and negotiating leverage vis-a-vis the United States.
Going forward, how we can tackle this problem?
So, as Vijay Kelkar is a very famous Indian economist. He said the best foreign policy is to have 10% economic growth for 25-30 years. If you grow rapidly, you build up domestic strength, domestic resilience, become a big market, then you acquire power because everyone wants to be in your market, and that's what gives you power. So domestic strength, domestic resilience is the best way to acquiring power.
So in that sense, Make in India movement must have strengthened us?
No, Make in India per se will not strengthen us. Only if we grow rapidly and we create an economy that's efficient, dynamic, and strong. Now, in some ways, make in India work. In some cases, it didn't work. We gave all these PLI subsidies. Only in electronics have we developed a big manufacturing base that is internationally competitive. It's not enough to just create manufacturing that then is not competitive, because then you will always be vulnerable to, others, taking advantage of your market. So efficient, productive, dynamic manufacturing is the way forward. It cannot be inefficient manufacturing.
So what will be the mantra for it to achieve our target?
Mantra is, our public and private sector have to become more efficient.
So, is there scope for public sector in public sector? So more, if we take the example of Kerala, more example of India itself, more and more PSUs are being closed down. Private investments are being encouraged. So, is there scope for PSUs?
I think that the scope for PSUs is becoming less and less because, as you know, they were all most of them were very inefficient. But in some areas like, defense, for example, or infrastructure, we've, I think, made use of the government more. And I think those are areas. But generally, I think that, we've had not a very happy experience with public sectors. So we have to be much more careful about where we have the public sector and also whether we can create the right incentives for them to become efficient and not become inefficient.
Okay, you are an advisor to, as you said, Tamil Nadu government also. In Tamil Nadu, what we have seen is what we say here as a kit politics. Kit politics means Pongal kit and that kind of schemes and all. So, how impact these kit politics will have on economy?
So all state governments are doing kit politics now. It's not just Tamil Nadu,
No, Kerala is doing it.
Yeah, Kerala is doing it, Bihar is doing it, Maharashtra did it. Kit politics has become, but now it is moving from kit politics to cash politics because more and more they're giving cash transfers. Governments are giving cash transfers. And I think, at one level, if you give women cash, for example, it's a good thing because women become empowered, and they become more strong and whatever. But I think there are limits to this. If you do too much of it, then, the states will, the public finances will become very vulnerable, and then you won't have enough money to spend on things like health and education and those things that citizens need more. So cash transfers and kit politics is good up to a point, but if it gets too much, then you'll have a lot of adverse consequences.
As you said, Bihar's Nitish government's repeated success, many analysts has pointed out that it is because of his schemes. His schemes for women. He started it in the during his first government itself. His focus was on empowering women and schemes for women and female students and all. Likewise, one major attribution that go to Modi's success was his schemes for toilets in rural Pradesh and all. Again, the focus was on women. So, in this women-centric policies and projects, in a deeper sense of economic sense, will it be doing good? As a society, it's fine.
Yeah, so again, the thing is that, by the way, just to, Nitish did that in his first term,
Yes.
bicycles for women, but then at some point it all stopped and it all became, and yet he got re-elected. So that's a puzzle and a mystery which we'll discuss later. But yes, I think making women the focus of politicians, it's a good thing because, in India, women have not been very empowered. So to empower them via all these schemes is a good thing. But I think one thing we neglect is the best way to empower women is to giving them jobs, is to making, creating employment opportunities for women. If you take Bangladesh, for example, it was as backward as West Bengal, but in the last 25, 30 years, so many women got employed in clothing and textiles and apparel that Bangladeshi society changed as a result of this women's empowerment. So I think there are many ways of empowering women. Giving them cash is one, but giving them jobs, giving them education, those are, I think, as important, and those should not be neglected.
Okay, so for example, when new economic policies were introduced during Manmohan Singh's period, there were more criticism than acceptance. Later on, it was regarded as one major change, one breaking the mold kind of acceptance it's got. And really that new economic policy and opening up the doors of the country to foreign investment and all, has it actually helped our economy?
Are you talking about the 91 reforms?
Yes.
Yeah. It is absolutely unambiguously clear that the 91 reforms were very beneficial for the Indian economy. Poverty reduction, which is one of the most came down most dramatically between 1991 and say 2012. So over 20-25 years, poverty declined dramatically. Educational, enrollment and resources devoted to education increased most rapidly in that period. It's in that period that Manrega also got built. So even all the schemes for, the less, the poor and, less advantaged, all those happened only after 1991. Infrastructure got built, more resources devoted to health and education, and then all these schemes for the cooking gas, bank accounts, all of these happened after 91. It is true that inequality rose after 1991, but that was accompanied by a lot of other good that benefited the economy as a whole. So anyone who tells you that the 91 reforms were bad and somehow people are worse today, the average man or the average family is worse today than they were in 1980 or 85, I think the evidence does not support that.
But the disparity between
Yeah, the disparity has increased, but then there's less poverty. It just happens that the people at the very top have acquired a lot of money, but the vast majority at the bottom have improved in every respect.
Okay, then the one problem that we usually discuss these days is that young generation of the country wants to leave country and to settle abroad and all. They want to go to they want their education outside. So that flow of youngsters from the country, in which way it will impact us?
I think that at some level, the Kerala model is based on, people leaving Kerala, right?
Yes.
And yet it's turned out to be, the Kerala economy has done very well in the last 30 years. I mean, even though, as I said earlier, it doesn't do agriculture or manufacturing or services, because of people leaving and sending back remittances, it's a state that's done very well. It's amongst the most prosperous in India. Of course, it benefited from a lot of reform movements way back in the past, but Kerala has benefited from people leaving. But it is true that if too many people want to leave, it's a sign that things are not right domestically. So people leaving is a symptom of a deeper problem, and that deeper problem has to be addressed. And it's also true that when say talented people leave, for example, it does affect, education, institutions in India, science and technology. So I think there is a problem, but equally also when people leave and, the Indian IT revolution in part happened because Indians left and they created a reputation for India. And so then it came back as benefits for India. So, so I think with everything, up to a point is good, too much is too bad.
Okay. And can you just tell me briefly about your book that...
So Devesh Kapoor and I have written a book called A Sixth of Humanity. It's about India's development journey from 1947 to today. And what we try and do in the book is to talk about 4 transformations in India. How India converted a colonial state into a development state, how India tried to transform society, because as you know, Indian society is very hierarchical, caste-ridden, patriarchy, how that changed, how society was changed, how it tried to make, create a sense of nationhood, who is an Indian, what do we share, what is it that sustains us as a nation, and how do you build a market and economy. So state, nation, society, market, 4 transformations, and how this was done through democratic politics from day one, which was very unique that India did. So we try and look at this experience, and we use a lot of data in the book to shed light. And so as we say, the data drives the argument in our book, not the other way around. So our book is full of data, and data compiled over 75 years.
So, when you look at the journey of India from 1947 to till date, as per your book, what would be the USP USP of India's journey so far?
I mean, I don't want to kind of reduce the book, but essentially what we say is that India had some amazing achievements like sustaining democracy and using democracy to create a sense of nation. Who is an Indian? How did we become one India? What keeps us together? And also building that through democracy. That was another major achievement. And how we built a state. Now in the early part the state was not very efficient, but now the state more and more is able to deliver better services. So democracy, nation building, strong institutions, a sense of pluralism, that it's very inclusive. All these were the early achievements, and we end the book by saying that these achievements should not be undermined or compromised in any way. Also, the relations between the center and the states used to be very good, and that should, we call this cooperative federalism. And if India has to overcome its challenges going forward, we need to have cooperative federalism.
Okay, the country will have its new budget very soon. What will be the focus, you think?
I don't know. I don't work in government, anymore, and I don't know what they're going to do. I don't like to talk about specific, budget. It's all
Okay, fine. The income tax slabs and all, there have been big changes in India with last budget and all. Will that be, of course, for taxpayers, it's nice, but the overall impact and the overall result, how it will be?
No, see, one of the things we show in the book is that since 1991, India's tax to GDP ratio has been flat. So generally, we are a nation that, and after 91, the Indian economy grew very rapidly. And during this period, our taxes should have increased much more. But in fact, our taxes have been performance has been very flat. And we say in the book that this is because Indian democracy is like a kamadhenu, that it gives everyone, and one way it manifests itself is by giving tax breaks to all kinds of interest groups in India. So anyone who makes a claim on the state, don't impose taxes, the government accommodates that. So it's something about Indian democracy itself that makes us a state that doesn't tax enough. And that's a problem because, because of not taxing enough, our budget deficits are very high. The interest we pay is very, very high. So we don't have enough resources for development, defense, etc. Partly because we don't tax our population enough. And partly we don't tax enough because people are saying, look, if we give this money, what do we get from the state in return? Do we get enough services, or is this money being taken away by corrupt politicians? So the low tax to GDP ratio also says something about what citizens believe they are getting from the state. So unless the state improves its delivery of services, it won't be able to tax its people, because people say, why should we give our money to someone who doesn't spend it wisely? And it's a problem even in Kerala.
Yes. When we look back all these decades of India as a country, as an economic power or whatever it is, what will be will it be accelerated going forward, or will it continue like this? What do you think? Are we on the right track to become more better?
That's a difficult question. To some extent, we end the book by saying, we had a lot of these achievements. We shouldn't undermine them. So politically, we should have more cooperation between the center and the states. We should allow more space for many more voices. We should allow space for all religions, all groups. So I think it's important to also maintain those aspects of a inclusive democratic society, and then rely on the 1.4 billion aspirational and entrepreneurial Indians to take India forward. So I think if we can get broadly our politics and institutions in order, everything is possible.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the
Thank
time.
you.